Hey everybody, welcome back to my workshop for another flea market finds episode. Again, we're featuring a lot of machinist tools in this pick, but there are also a couple other neat little goodies in here that we'll get to. This is a pretty big pick, so I'm probably going to end up having to spread this out over 2 or 3, maybe even 4 episodes, depending on how quickly I can get through this without running my mouth too much. But let's dive right in. This is from this November of 2023's Thompson International Speedway annual swap meet. It's a 3-day event. I usually shop 2 of the 3 days. And this year was no exception. I ended up going there on Friday and Saturday. I just didn't go back on Sunday. But anyways, let's take a look at the first trip back to the car. Ended up having me run back with not a heck of a lot right here because of one large item that was like right up near the beginning. I think it might have been even technically the very first purchase that day. And I'll showcase that in a moment. But let's blow through these few odds and ends right here. This is a SPI telescopic gauge set. And it's got this like white dust on it. But the gauges themselves look brand new. So I don't know where this was being stored that this dust got on it. But they look brand new. And it's in the original box and everything. And I got these for 15 bucks. And, you know, they're made in Japan, so they're probably NSK or maybe even Mitutoyo manufactured these for them to be, you know, SPI is just a brand. It's not really a manufacturer. But I should do okay with those. Make maybe 5 or 10 bucks anyways. I got this off a vendor for 5 bucks. This has got some Allen branded T-handled Allen wrenches in it. Unfortunately, you can see there's some broken handles, but the reason why I wanted this was I wanted the holder, because I've got actually quite a few of these T-handled ones just loose. So what I'll end up doing is I'll probably end up just keeping this for myself and filling it out with the proper sizes and having that handy on the bench. This is a hold down, strap down set for a like a Bridgeport or a knee mill. It's missing quite a few pieces. You can see there's only a couple of hold down nuts. There's a couple of these nuts here. There's 3 of these to put the studs together. There's quite a few studs though. And there's a few different straps. But the thing is, because it's so dirty and it's got some rust on some of the parts in that, I got this for 5 bucks. This holder itself was worth the 5 bucks to me because I have some extra parts. So I can make this more complete. And, you know, you can buy these as imports brand new online for about 45 or 50 bucks brand new. But the funny thing is, I have yet to find a vendor that's offering free shipping. And these get heavy when they get filled up. So what ends up happening is, oftentimes you end up paying 25 or 30 for the shipping. So now all of a sudden it's 75 or 80 bucks for a new set, even in cheap import. So that's why I'm usually still able to get like around 40 bucks for these, if they've got a decent amount of stuff in them. Came across another vendor who I looked through like some boxes or a toolbox or something. I don't remember exactly what the details were, and I ended up putting together this little lot of 7 items and getting them for $8. And amongst these 7 items are this small Starrett branded clamp. It's got just a little bit of damage on it. This must be a pretty early one because it doesn't have the Starrett number, the model number on it. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what the model number is of this series, but typically you would have the number, I think like a 191, and then it would be like an A, B, C. They even made a double A for a really small one. And let's see, one of these is another Starrett. That's a no name. And this one, here we go. This is a 161C, so maybe that is, well, that's interesting. This is stamped 161C, but it doesn't say Starrett on it, which makes me wonder if this is just something else. Not going to worry about it. Like I said, 8 bucks for all of these. This double-ended Starrett 827B edge finder, which even though it's got a little bit of surface rust here and there, it's actually moves freely. Wouldn't take too much to clean that up, make a decent edge finder out of it. This is the style that you've got a cone shape on one end for locating holes, and then the regular small edge finder on the other end. a number 1 Morse, genuine Morse drift for removing Morse tapers. These 2 little blocks that are badged Elstrom, but what these are part of a gauge block set. I've featured a few of these on the channel in the past, made by Hoke, Pratt & Whitney. Some of them are badged, I think Johansson. I featured a few of these on the page before. I've got several of these sets that are incomplete, and they have all different kinds of different attachments, and there's even a base that is featured with many of these, so you could stack these up and turn it into a very precision height gauge. Anyways, I just knew that I could add these to one of my sets and maybe make something out of them. These say Dearborn Gauge Company, which is interesting. So even though they say Elstrom on this side, Dearborn Gauge Company must be Dearborn, Michigan. You know, a lot of the Johansson gauge blocks were licensed by Henry Ford and sold under the Ford name. And the last item in that little lot right there for $8 was this little piece right here, which a lot of people don't even know what this is, but I recognized it based on the shape of the shank. This is straight with a ball on the end, and what this is an attachment for use in a coaxial indicator. So I do believe that the aftermarket ones like SPI and MHC branded ones and things like that might have a little bit different size shank than the original Blake coaxials, which is probably the king of coaxial indicators. So I'll have to check and see what this fits, but I'll keep this handy because I know I've got an import coaxial indicator coming up in this pick, and I also have my Blake set. I can check and see if it fits any missing pieces in my Blake. Went to another vendor and found this little piece right here. He didn't really have any machinist items, but he had this sitting there, and I quickly deduced that this was something that was made with a precision grinder, and it's some sort of a precision V-block. It's got kind of a neat build to it. Quality looks pretty good as far as the grind goes. There's some damage here where this must have been on an angle and a grinding wheel was hitting it. But I only paid $1 for this thing, so I know my guys who buy from me all the time are going to probably love this, and I'll probably get easily, $10 for it, which means 1,000% profit or something. No, I don't know. Whatever my math is on that, just who cares? That brings us to the first truly unusual sleeper find on this pick. I was going through a bucket or a bin of rusty drill bits and other assorted rusty junk and came across this thing and quickly realized that this is a sight for a gun. Now, my first thought was maybe it was for an old muzzle loader or something. But then I noticed that right up here it says caliber .50 M1, and then it says yards. So this scale is in yards. The .50, well, could still be a ball, caliber rifle, right? But the M1 is the dead giveaway. And I was able to do some research, and M1 does not refer to the nomenclature of the weapon. It refers to the nomenclature of the round, the 50 caliber round. And the 50 caliber round, the M1 round, was used in the Browning 50 caliber machine guns. And of course, we know that the Browning 50 caliber machine gun was around for a long, long time. But every time I picked up looked up a picture of the Browning machine guns and tried to get pictures of the sights, I couldn't find any of them that looked like this. This had a very unique look to it. Now, this is incomplete. It's missing a couple parts, which is unfortunate. What it's missing is there is a threaded rod or barrel that will go in this hole right here. And then it would have a little thumb wheel adjustment here, like this one, only larger. And what that would do is that would allow this hole this whole part to swivel like this. So this is your adjustment for elevation, sliding this up and down. So there's a thumb wheel right here that moves this, that rotates this threaded rod, which then moves this elevation up and down. So that when this is up like this, we can move this up and down, and we can compensate for the distance that the bullet drops over how many yards. So the other giveaway that this was for a 50 caliber machine gun is the fact that this is calibrated up to 32 yards. And I'm confident that I'm right on this because I did a lot of research online. I posted some photos of this and finally ended up finding somebody who was able to explain to me that the reason why I was not able to find any Browning 50 cals with this particular sight on them was because this particular version of this sight was used on the water-cooled Brownings. So you've probably seen in like World War I movies, the old Browning 50 cals that had that big barrel-like tubular-shaped device surrounding the barrel, and that was to be filled with water to keep the barrel cool. So very specialized sight. Again, not in the greatest condition, missing some parts, gonna be a complete mystery to me what this ends up being worth. I think the best thing for me to do is probably do a eBay auction on this and go from there. But the good news is that I only paid $2 for this. So it was, might be the deal of the day, I'm not quite sure. Although this last item on the first trip back to the car, which is the larger item, which made me turn right around and go back to the car, was also a hell of a deal. And that item is this right here. This is a mag drill. So for those of you who do not know what a mag drill is, essentially it's a regular drill that has been mounted on a specially designed base that has almost like a drill press feature to it. But more importantly, this part of the base right here has a strong electromagnet in it. And the idea is that if you need to drill a hole in steel, for instance, on a frame or something large where you can't take that part and put it on a milling machine, then your best friend in the world is one of these right here. These, generally speaking, tend to be pretty expensive. If you get this in a name brand like Milwaukee or something like that, you're talking some really big bucks. This one, I'm not familiar with, these particular drills. I mean, I knew they existed, and I knew that if I could pick one up cheap, I would probably get one for myself. But I had never heard of the Roto Brute, B-R-U-T-E. And, my first thought was, okay, that sounds so Chinesium to me. So I'm thinking, that's probably a cheap import. Looks like it's been well used. No electric power available, so unable to test it. The guy told me, he believes it works. The brand of the up here says Champion. On the other side, it says the Champion Cutting Tool Corporation of Rockville Center, New York. So that made me feel a little bit better when I noticed that. So I asked the guy, I said, what do you want for that? He said, how about $10? $10. So at $10, it's like, okay, even if I get it home and it's broken, I'm only out $10, right? Now, I noticed the cord's a little sketchy here, right where it goes in through the strain relief. It could stand to be redone. But then I brought it home, I plugged it in, turned it on, and the first thing I noticed was, hey, the magnet works, and it is strong. And then I was like, so it seems to work. The only thing I'm kind of puzzled about is that just seems kind of fast. And there's no variable speed on here whatsoever. So I'm thinking maybe this might be for use with roto broaches, but I'm not going to worry about it. And this is something that, boy, if I wanted to resell this, I could make a ton of profit off of this because I only paid $10 for it. But it's going to be one of those things I think I just got to keep in my arsenal in case I run across that point one of these days where I just really want to drill a hole in some steel, and it's, you know, just going to be easy to slap this thing on there and go to town. So it's got some rust on it, and wherever it was sitting, it was, you know, damp. But it works, seems to work fine. So I can't complain. And then I did look online, and it turns out these things are like $800 new. So it's actually a pretty decent unit.